So Jeff, Dalton is not necessarily known for movie making, but your, Texas Chainsaw 3 and Pumpkinheads and the Puppet Masters, you
Well, well, you mentioned those movies, but the absolute base of those movies, the genesis, is Dalton, Georgia. Dalton is known, has been known for the creative community for a long time. And I grew up in Dalton in the late '60s and '70s. I graduated high school in '79 from Dalton High, and there was always unusually for a small town in the South at that time, there was support and interest in the arts. So there was a thriving little theater, and now there are two little theaters here, community theaters, and always there was there is a thing called the Creative Arts Guild, which is a arts organization here that has always been supportive of artistic endeavors, from the crazy to the sublime. So Dalton it's a strange town in many respects. And when I was growing up here, that was one of the odd things about it, which was incredibly advantageous to me, because Mark Hanna, Alan Poston, and myself, we would make these Super 8 films, and when you're that age, and even now, those movies were just as real as any of the so-called professional movies I've done later, and in many cases more real, because you have complete control and you're doing everything yourself, and there's a huge joy in that. So Dalton, although Dalton is not known for it doesn't really have a huge film community, it does have a solid arts background and foundation here. And Kevin absolutely fits into the profile of that. I wish I'd had a Kevin Sexton around when I was making these Super 8 movies, because we would have utilized his talents and abused his talents over many projects, because his talents are almost exactly what we were looking for, like to make dinosaur armatures for stop motion, to paint backdrops, for special effects, and then wrestling, all that. It would have been the perfect marriage. So I feel very honored to have met Kevin years and years later through Mark Hanna, and we had kind of so many shared interests that we knew we would work together.
Well, it sounds like, he's really a jack of many trades.
And master. He's not one of these jack of all trades, master of none. He is actually a bona fide master a man of many talents, and can do many things well, which I am envious of, because I can't, I can barely draw a breath, much less a picture. I'm always envious of people that have drafting talent and sculpting talent. And those are incredibly applicable talents to filmmaking.
Yeah.
So
well, that's high praise for somebody with
well, no, it's just, and the other thing with Kevin is that I totally respond to is he has to do it, and that's how I always was and am with film. He has to do it, and it doesn't matter if they're 10 roadblocks and 85 hurdles. He's gonna plow through the roadblocks and jump the hurdles, and he will get it done. And of course there are sacrifices and compromises along the way. They're inevitably, but that's what I really love about him, is, in total respect, and I'm not just blowing smoke. It's inspiring, and sometimes it makes you better, because if it makes you feel guilty, like, this guy's doing all this, man, what am I doing, right?
Right.
So those guys are sometimes relight a fire in your own belly, And the other thing with him, he's got a knack for bringing people around and getting people involved, which is an essential entrepreneurial talent for independent film, because you have to have that, the ability, the magnetism, the charisma, whatever you want to call it, the talent that's a magnet for other people, and he draws talented people in to his orbit. So that's a very a great trait for an independent filmmaker, you know. So he's just a and the other thing, he's got a personal high energy, which I think also is incredibly important to have as an independent filmmaker, because you have to wear so many hats, and to do a low budget film or a no budget film, much less a no budget film series over a period of years, it's and it doesn't really matter because the audience doesn't have to know and they won't know, but just the sheer amount of man hours and thought that goes into these projects is staggering.
Yeah.
And of course the audience, it has no conscious bearing on the audience, because why should they care? You know, they're watching it to say what is the final product or final film, but it's just the filmmakers know how much effort goes in, and you can see that effort. And because there's so many now, because the democratization of digital, almost anyone can make a movie, or what they call a movie. But these movies are different in the sense that effort is put in, and thought and imagination, and that's what really drew me to the Paranormal Chasers movies. Kevin has created a world that only Kevin could create, and he's got, with the help of his wife and Penny and the help of a lot of other people. But this whole world has come from him, and he's the only one that could create it. Whereas 500 people could have made an adaptation of a Marvel comic or whatever. He's an original and an originator, and that is an increasingly rare thing in film, unfortunately. But he's definitely a guy that can create the world, and only he could have done it, and it's totally out of his imagination, and that's a goal for independent films. You know, you want it to be a creation of to me the best films come from creation of one or two people working together and doing something that they had in their heads and getting it on screen, and that's, to me, those are the best independent movies, because you feel that imagination, you know.
Well, I almost feel your own energy. So it's like maybe you're the mentor and you're teaching, but maybe you're learning.
He didn't know. Kevin is an autodidact, absolutely. That doesn't mean he knows everything, but that means he's willing to learn himself,
yeah.
and to do research, and to really and just to do it. And I think with any art or with any endeavor like this, to absolutely do it yourself, and because he doesn't have a gun to his head.
Right.
No one is asking for these movies.
Right.
You know what I mean? He has to do it. No one is asking for these sculptures. No one is asking for, the world doesn't ask for art, unfortunately. But they appreciate it when they get it, and that's what I really admire about him, very admirable, is he has to do it, and he will do it, and he does do it. So to me, like, good or done always trumps mental perfection. There are a lot of people that have paralysis because they're waiting for the perfect time to do this, or all the planets in alignment.
Yeah.
No, doing it trumps everything. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
And so at least that's how I feel about it. So he's got that in spades, which bodes well for the future for him, because each there's no such thing as a perfect movie, but each of his movies have gotten better and better, and more more ambitious on some level, and more and that slick is not really the right word, but more technically adept, and not that that's something to absolutely strive for, but each thing gets better and more deep, or more dense, and that's again, to see that progress and to be a part of that progress in a very small way. That he actually had me act in one of these things, which was a joy and a hoot. To see that, it's really, as I say, it's inspiring, because he has to do this, and darn it, he'll do it, and the one thing I would, if I had to give him any advice on camera, I would say I really would want to see something outside of the realm of Paranormal Chasers after he finishes this journey.
Sure.
I really want to see the next thing he does and have him really think about the next thing he does.
So you're thinking, one genre, one series of stuff. I mean, maybe some outside validation if you do something else. Or?
Well, not outside validation. No, you don't need validation. I mean, it's always great to have, but if you're waiting for validation for your art. Believe me, buddy, you'll be waiting a long time because if you need that, you'll never have enough. I mean, you could have 100 good reviews and one bad one, and you'll be obsessing about the bad one. I mean, if you're waiting for outside validation, that's the wrong. Okay. To me, anyway, that's the wrong thing. I mean, the doing it is the validation. The doing it and finishing it, that's the validation. Having something that didn't exist, that now exists in the world, that the creation of it, that's the beauty, that's the validation. Yeah. And that's something that's the only thing you can control as a filmmaker, as an artist, whatever. That's the only thing you control, the doing of it. Yeah. Once it's out there and done and created, the reaction to that creation you have no control over and you have no knowledge of. Yeah. And it may be that's I don't think that's my best work, but that could be the work that hits the people the most, And so, who's to say? That's not for the artist or the creator to say. You just do it and get it out there. That's the validation.
So really, that right there, that's
the validation. Yeah. Because those things, those 3 discs, those 3, compressions of entertainment, they did not exist 5 years ago, 6 years ago.
Okay, well, Jeff, I think my last question here is, are you hopeful for a future of Kevin's and Dalton? I mean, is it?
Well, here's the thing, Dalton. I mean, the hardest part about all this stuff is how to monetize it in a way that makes sense, because we're all not. The goal is not to. If the goal is to get rich, then you're in the wrong.
Sure.
You're the wrong industry or the wrong profession. So it's just to monetize it to some degree where you can do it and be self-sustaining. And that's the. Since I'm back here now, I think that's the goal that I'm having is to have a community of artists that can be self-sustaining, and that's the goal of all regional filmmakers and artists. So I think it is possible, absolutely. Especially, it's more possible now than ever. But there are a lot of challenges too, But the one thing I can say without any hesitation is we will work together on other projects, and there will be other projects continuing in Dalton for sure.
Great. Well, thank you, Jeff. I appreciate you taking the time.
My pleasure, believe me.